Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, ma'am.
Okay, good morning. So today we'll study the continuation of the male reproductive system. Is the PowerPoint visible, student?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now today we'll start by epididymis. This reproductive organ, here you see this is the epididymis. And this is you can see what is the shape? Comma sepate. Yes, it is comma sepate body. Where does it lie? It lies in the posterior lateral part of posterior border of testis. This is testis. Which part? Posterior lateral part. Posteriorly and lateral part of posterior border of testis. Okay. What are the parts of the epididymis? It has, this is the head, this is the body, this is the tail of the epididymis. These are the parts. Now, what does head comprises of? You can see the head comprises of this ductule. What is the name of these ductules? These ductules are known as efferent ductules. What are these? Efferent ductules. So head comprises of coiling of efferent ductules. And at the head, there is a sessile mass. Here you can see this sessile fibrofatty mass. This is known as here you can see this is known as appendix of epididymis. What is this? Appendix of epididymis. And what does it represent? It is a remnant of cephalic part of mesonephros. Okay, so this is the appendix of epididymis is the remnant of mesonephros, whereas the appendix of testis is the remnant of paramesonephric duct. So there is a difference. Now body and tail. This is the body, this is the tail here. The body and tail are made up of a single coil duct. What is the name of this duct? Single coil duct. What is the name of this duct? This duct is known as canal of epididymis. Canal of epididymis. Now from the tail, what begins? There is a muscular tube, thick muscular tube. What is the name of the tube? Vasa deferens or ductus deferens. Vasa deferens or ductus deferens. So this is about epididymis. Again I repeat, what is the shape? Epididymis is a comma sepate reproductive organ. It lies in the posterior lateral part of the posterior border of testis. It has a head, it has a body, it has a tail. Head consists of made up of coiling of efferent ductules. Efferent ductules are the derived from the mesonephric tubules, whereas the head comprises of the sessile fibrofatty mass. It's known as the appendix of epididymis. Appendix of epididymis is the remnant of the cephalic part of mesonephros. Now body and tail of the epididymis is made up of single coiled canal of the epididymis, and from the tail what begins? The muscular channel tube, one of the reproductive part of the male reproductive part. What is the name of the tube? Vas deferens or ductus deferens. Okay. Then comes the vasa deferens. Okay, Kushal Singh Bosnet, can you describe, give briefly on the epididymis?
Ma'am, it's a comma-shaped body, and it lies at the posterior lateral part of the posterior border of testis. Yes. And is divided into three parts: head, tail, and body. And yes, it is formed by the coiling of efferent ductules. And
head is formed by the coiling of efferent ductules. Body and tail is formed by
canal of epididymis.
Okay, from the tail what begins?
Vasa deferens.
Okay, thank you. You can mute your mic. Very good. Now let us go to the vas deferens. Okay, here you can see this is the vas deferens. What is this, my dear student? This is the vas deferens, also known as ductus deferens. Vas deferens is thick muscular cord. Okay, it has a thick muscular cord, thick muscular layer. And what is the centimeter here? If you remember, this time in university exam, sir has asked you the question on the 45 centimeter, which bone? On that bone, he has asked, is there any organ of the similar length in our body? That is, the answer was vas deferens. So the length is 45 centimeter. Length is how many centimeter? 45 centimeter probably in your case, or for the 5th semester. He has asked the question. So you should know the length. The length is 45 centimeter. And what is the formation here? It begins, course and formation, it begins from the tail of, what is this? It begins from the tail of epididymis. Tail of epididymis, yes. Then it has a tortuous course. It has a tortuous course. You can see this is the tortuous part of the ductus deferens. It has a tortuous course. It ascends upward behind the which border of the testis, my dear student? Posterior border. But which aspect here? Posterior medial aspect of the testis. It ascends upward behind the testis, medial to the epididymis, and it forms the content of which cord? It forms the content of which cord is this? What is the name of this cord, my dear student? Spermatic cord. And in spermatic cord, where does it lie? It lies in the posterior part of the spermatic cord. Then you can see it passes through the inguinal canal. Which canal is this? It passes through the inguinal. First, it passes through here. You can see this is from here till here is the inguinal canal. It passes. It forms the content of spermatic cord. Then it passes through this ring. What is the name of this ring, my dear student? Superficial inguinal ring. And then inguinal canal. Inguinal canal. This is the inguinal canal. And which ring is this, my dear student? Which ring is this? We have studied in anterior abdominal wall. This is deep inguinal ring. Deep inguinal ring. So at the level of the deep inguinal ring, here you can see it leaves the spermatic cord. This is the ductus deferens. This is the ductus deferens. So it leaves the spermatic cords at the deep inguinal ring. Okay. Up till this period, is there any confusion? So here, Cicerareal, can you say the course of the vas deferens that I have stated up till now? Yes.
It starts from tail of epididymis.
Yes.
And as a tortuous path posterior medial to the testis.
Posterior medial to the epididymis in the posterior border of testis. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And
yes.
It enters the inguinal canal and
it forms the part of spermatic cord. In the spermatic cord, it lies in posterior part. Then along with the spermatic cord, it passes through superficial inguinal ring. Then it traverses the which canal?
Deep inguinal.
Inguinal canal. Then what happens?
Then it leaves the spermatic cord and forms ductus deferens.
No. Ductus deferens formation takes place at the level of the tail of the epididymis. Okay. It leaves the spermatic cord at the level of deep inguinal ring. Clear?
Okay.
Is there any confusion, all of you? Please tell me, if there any confusion, shall I proceed the course? The course of vas deferens is very, very important as a SAQ. Shall I proceed or I'll wait? Okay, so I'll wait.
Proceed, ma'am.
Proceed. Okay. Now, here you can see at this level here, see, at this is the point of the deep inguinal ring. At this level, it leaves the which cord? This is the vas deferens. It leaves the spermatic cord. Okay. So in this picture, you can see. Now, then this is a very, very important clinically. As it leaves the deep inguinal ring, it winds round the inferior epigastric vessels. Can you see these vessels? This is the artery and vein. Which artery? Inferior epigastric artery. So it winds round the lateral side of inferior epigastric artery. Then here you can see where it is going. It is going posterior inferiorly. Through which pelvic wall? Which pelvic wall is this? Can anybody say which pelvic wall is this? Through the along the lateral pelvic wall. Lateral pelvic wall. See? Then while it is passing through the lateral pelvic wall, it crosses the several structures. Can you see these vessels here? These two vessels are external iliac vessels, external iliac artery and vein. At the same time, when it is crossing through the lateral pelvic wall, it crosses these structures. See here, these structures are obliterated umbilical artery, obliterated umbilical artery, and here we cannot see properly. It is more deeply present at this point. Here you can see is the obturator nerve and vessels, obturator nerve and vessels. So it passes downward posterior inferiorly along the lateral pelvic wall. While it is passing posterior inferiorly along the lateral pelvic wall, it crosses the several structures. What are they? External iliac vessels, okay, obliterated umbilical artery, and obturator nerve and vessels, obturator nerve and vessels, okay. Then here you can see, then it passes, see here, can you see this, all of you? This is ureter, this is ureter. Then it crosses the ureter from superiorly, it crosses the ureter from superiorly, from lateral to medial, from lateral to medial, crosses the ureter superiorly from lateral to medial and lateral to medial, and lies in the base of urinary bladder. This is the which part of urinary bladder? Base of urinary bladder. At the base of the urinary bladder, at the base of the urinary bladder, it runs inferomedially. See, it runs inferomedially, medial to which vesicle? Seminal vesicle. At this point, it dilates out. You can see it dilates out to form, what is this dilated part of vas deferens known as ampulla of vas deferens. Then finally it joins with the duct of the, here you can see, it joins with the duct of the seminal vesicle to form this small duct. What is this duct? Ejaculatory duct. Which duct? Ejaculatory duct. Okay, ejaculatory duct. So again I repeat here, this is very important. Then after passing along the lateral pelvic wall, it crosses the ureter superiorly from lateral to medial. It reaches the base of the urinary bladder. At the base of the urinary bladder, it runs inferomedially, where it dilates to form the ampulla of the vas deferens. It lies medial to the seminal vesicle. The ampulla of vas deferens unite with the duct of seminal vesicle to form ejaculatory duct. This is how you can also produce the sentence. Clear? Okay. Now, Nitish Kumar Das, can you say the course of the vas deferens from beginning to termination?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It begins at the tail of epididymis.
Yes.
And there was some tortuous course medial to the posterior medial to the epididymis and posterior border of testis.
Okay.
And forms the content of spermatic cord.
Okay.
And it's run through the superficial inguinal ring.
Yes.
And leaps the
inguinal canal.
Spermatic cord through the deep inguinal canal. Ring.
Yes. Yes. Then?
And it rounds around the.
How does it go? Anterior inferiorly or posterior inferiorly through the lateral pelvic wall?
Posterior inferiorly.
Yes. Along the which pelvic wall? Anterior, lateral, posterior.
Lateral
yes.
pelvic.
Very good. Then
it crosses.
While it is passing through the lateral pelvic wall, it crosses the several structure. Yes. What are they?
External iliac vessel.
Yes. Below external iliac vessels, what are there? Obliterated umbilical artery, obturator nerve and vessels. Then it leaves the lateral pelvic wall by crossing. Which tube?
Ureter.
Okay. Ureter. Very good. Go on.
It it runs at the base of urinary bladder.
You should say while it crossing that. This is the main important point here. This is the difference between the female and male. In female, uterine artery crosses the ureter from lateral to medial superiorly. In male, vas deferens crosses the ureter superiorly from lateral to medial. Superiorly means like this. Okay, superiorly from lateral to medial. Then it reaches the base of the urinary bladder. In the base of the urinary bladder, what is its course? Inferomedially, superomedially, superolaterally, inferolaterally. How does it pass? Inferomedially.
Inferomedially.
While it is running inferomedially, it lies. What are the relation? It lies medial to?
Medial to seminal vesicle.
Yes. And how does it terminate?
And it forms a dilation called ampulla of vas deferens and join with the duct of seminal vesicle to form ejaculatory duct.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Nitesh. Is there any question from anybody else? Are you confident with the course of vas deferens? All of you, it's very important. Shall I proceed? No?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I should not proceed or proceed? You said yes, ma'am. I'm confused.
Proceed, ma'am.
Proceed.
Ma'am,
Okay.
proceed.
Okay, now another reproductive organ is seminal vesicles. What is this, my dear student? This is seminal vesicle. Seminal vesicle is a pyramidal organ. And where does it lie? It lies in the base of the urinary bladder. This is the base of the urinary bladder. And how does it form? It is nothing but the coiling of. It is nothing but the coiling of single duct, seminal vesicle. What is the relation? Very easy. It is related anteriorly with the base of urinary bladder, posteriorly with behind the urinary bladder, and this is structure. There lies the so this is the urinary bladder, my dear student. Behind the urinary bladder there is a rectum and anal canal here. So here is the seminal vesicle. Okay. Thus anteriorly it is related to this base of the urinary bladder. Posteriorly it is related with this ampulla of the rectum. Medially it is related with the ampulla vas deferens here. Yes, ampulla vas deferens. And laterally at this point there is the presence of the ligament which supports the prostate. What is the prostate as well as urinary bladder? That is the posterior true ligament. What is the name of the ligament? Posterior true ligament. This much is sufficient for seminal vesicle. And what is the blood supply of seminal vesicles? It is supplied by inferior vesical artery and medial rectal artery. Both are the branches of internal iliac artery. Which iliac? Which iliac? Internal iliac artery. Now another reproductive part, male reproductive part is ejaculated duct. This is small duct. Here you can see. This is 2 centimeter in length. This duct is known as ejaculated duct, and it is formed by the union of the ampulla of vas deferens with the duct of seminal vesicle. Clear? Very easy. Now we'll go to the another reproductive organ, that is reproductive gland. Actually, male reproductive gland, very, very important for exam point of view. Testes and prostate are very, very important in the male reproductive system. That is the prostate. What is this? Prostate. Now here you can see this is the prostate, my dear student. Prostate is conical in shape. What is this shape? What is this shape? Conical, waist shaped, conical in shape. What does it consist of? It consists of fibrous, muscle and glandular units. So together we say fibromuscular glandular structure. What does it surround? See here, this urethra is known as, it surrounds the prostatic urethra. Which urethra? Prostatic urethra. What are its function? It secretes the acid phosphatase, fibrinolysin, citric acid, amylase, and one of the most important antigen, which is very important for identifying the carcinoma of the prostate, that is prostatic specific antigen and prostaglandin. And these all constitute the bulk of seminal fluid. Bulk of seminal fluid or semen. Yes. What is the homologous organ of the prostate in female? The homologous organ of the prostate in the female is paraurethral gland of Skinny. Paraurethral gland of Skinny. This is very important Viva question. That's why I mentioned. Name the homologous organ of the prostate in female. The homologous organ gland in relation to the prostate in female is paraurethral gland of Skinny. Okay. Now, what does it shape? It is inverted cone shaped. See, it is inverted cone shaped, and it resembles like a chestnut. Its weight is 3 grams. It's white at the base. This is the base, my dear student. It's white at the base is 4 centimeter. Length is 3 centimeter and thickness is 2 centimeter. And here you can see from this picture, you can easily discern that it have more white than the length. And what are the other organs in our body which have more white than the length? If in the Viva, the external examiner asks, such as cecum has more wider than the length. For example, the ciliate trunk also have more breadth or width than the length. Clear? Can you answer this question in the exam? Yes? Related. Now this is about the definition of the prostate. Let us go to the location of the prostate. Where does it located? It is located in this pelvis. Which pelvis is this? Lesser pelvis. Below the neck of, this is the neck of the urinary bladder, my dear student. This is the neck of the urinary bladder. Below the neck of the urinary bladder. Above this diaphragm, can you see this? This muscle, this is urogenital diaphragm. Above the urogenital diaphragm. Behind this is pubic symphysis. This is pubic symphysis. Behind the lower part of pubic symphysis. In front of this dilated part of rectum is known as rectal ampulla. What is this, my dear student? Rectal ampulla. In front of the rectal ampulla. And enclosed on either side. This is sagittal section, so side view cannot be seen. And enclosed on each side by a diaphragm, pelvic diaphragm. What is another name of pelvic diaphragm? Levator ani. Enclosed on each side by levator ani. So this is very important Viva question, 2 marks question. Mention the location of the prostate. Achal Chaudhary, can you mention the situation of the prostate?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
It is located in lesser pelvis.
Yes.
Below the neck of bladder.
Yes.
And above urogenital diaphragm.
Yes.
Behind the lower part of pubic symphysis.
Yes.
In front of rectal ampulla.
Yes.
On each side it enclosed levator ani must.
Enclosed by levator ani. Yes. Okay, that is the location of the prostate. Thank you, Achal. Now, covering of the prostate, very, very important here. What are the covering of the prostate? The covering of the prostate or the prostatic capsule. There are 2 in number in the normal gland and 3 in number if there is benign prostatic hypertrophy. Okay. So the innermost layer here you can see, my dear student, this is the innermost layer. The innermost layer is known as the inner true capsule. How does it form? It is formed by the condensation of the peripheral fibrous stroma of the gland. It is intimately related to the gland, or you can say condensation of the fibrous stroma of the gland will form the inner true capsule. Okay, here it is labeled true capsule. Now outside is the false capsule. What is this? Outside is the false capsule. False capsule. The false capsule here, which is labeled here, my dear student, it is also known as prostatic sheath. How does it form? It is formed by the condensation of visceral layer of pelvic fascia. Visceral layer of pelvic fascia. It envelops the prostate as well as, see here, my dear student, can you see this false capsule? The false capsule invests the prostate as well as it also continue investing the, what is this? Urinary bladder. It envelops the prostatic gland and urinary bladder in same compartment. Between the true and false capsule, can you see this blue color vessels, venous plexus? What is this? Prostatic venous plexus. Prostatic venous plexus. Now in the endocrine gland, if you remember when we taught you the endocrine gland, that is thyroid. In the case of the thyroid, the venous plexus lies, the venous plexus of the thyroid gland lies deep to both true and false capsule. Whereas in the prostate, the venous plexus lies between true and false capsule. This question 100% will always be asked in university and semester exam. Now, Ayush Koirala, can you say the covering of the testis in normal prostatic gland? How many covering are there? 2 or 3 in normal gland? Then what are they? And what is the relation of the venous plexus in prostate in relation with the thyroid gland? Yes.
Ma'am, there are two covering in normal.
Yes. Yes.
Inner true covering and
Inner true capsule.
inner true capsule, which is formed by condensation of peripheral fibrous stroma.
Yes.
And outer false capsule.
And it is made up of?
Ma'am, prostatic sheath.
It is also known as prostatic sheath. It is made up of pelvic fascia. It is made up of visceral layer of pelvic fascia. What structure lies between true and false capsule?
Ma'am, prostatic venous plexus.
What is the difference in the thyroid gland? The venous plexus? In the case of thyroid gland, does it lie between true and false capsule?
Ma'am, deep to both true and false capsule.
Yes, deep to both true and false capsule. Very good. You should always, all of you should remember these differences. Now, surgically or pathologically, there is a third capsule. If there is benign prostatic hypertrophy, that is known as surgical or pathological capsule. So, when there is adenoma of the gland or when there is a prostatic gland enlarges, the peripheral part of the organ become compressed, and this compressed part of the gland will undergo fibrosis and forms a capsule. What is the name of the capsule? Surgical or pathological capsule. Otherwise, in the normal condition, the surgical or pathological capsule is not present. Okay, so this is the third capsule in the benign prostatic hypertrophy, in the adenoma of the gland. Now, what are the parts of the prostate? The parts of the prostate, this part, my dear student, the lowermost part, conical part, this is known as apex. Where does it directed? It is directed below. It is related with this diaphragm. What is this diaphragm? Superior fascia. This white layer. Can you see this white layer? This is the superior fascia of urogenital diaphragm. That is the relation. Now, what is this upper part? This is the base. What is this? This is the base. Where does it directed? It is directed above. Where does it directed? It directed above. And what does it surround? It surrounds the neck of the urinary bladder. Okay, and at the junction of, my dear student, this is the anterior 1/3. Okay, and this is the posterior 2/3. At the junction of the anterior 1/3 and posterior 2/3, urethra pierces the base of the urinary bladder. Urethra pierces the base of here. Urethra pierces the base of base of prostate. Urethra pierces the base of prostate. So what are the parts? First part is apex, which is directed below, related with the urogenital diaphragm. Upper part is known as broader part, known as base, which is directed above, enclose the neck of urinary bladder. And at the junction of anterior 1/3, this is anterior 1/3, and posterior 2/3, this is posterior 2/3. The prostatic urethra pierces the base of prostate. Okay. Now, surface. My dear student, here you see this is which surface? Posterior surface. Posterior surface is related with the rectal ampulla. Okay, and it is separated from the rectal ampulla by this fascia. What is this fascia? This is known as fascia of Denone-Wheeler. Fascia of Denone-Wheeler. And this is the surface which is palpated in the per-rectal examination. When you pass the finger through the rectum anal canal, you will palpate from the anterior wall of rectum, you will palpate the posterior surface of the prostate. And how many centimeter above the anus it lies? It lies 4 centimeter above the anus. And this posterior surface, this is the posterior surface, is divided by a transverse sulcus. Here you can see it divided by a transverse sulcus into upper small area and lower larger area. Okay, in the upper small area on either side it is pierced by, here you can see ejaculatory duct. On either side it is pierced by ejaculatory duct. Okay, and lower area is divided by the vertical sulcus into 2 lobes, lateral lobe on either side. So this is about which surface is this, my dear student? This is posterior view. This is the posterior surface of the prostate. Now comes the anterior surface. This is the anterior surface. Which surface is this? This is the anterior surface. Anterior surface is narrow, it is convex. It lies 2 centimeter behind this pubic symphysis, my dear student, and it is separated from the pubic symphysis by this space. What is this space known as? This space is known as space of Retzius. Space of Retzius. And in the space of Retzius, there is presence of this yellow color. It is filled with extraperitoneal fat. Slightly above the apex, this anterior surface is pierced by this urethra. Slightly above the apex, the anterior surface is pierced by urethra. Okay. Now here you can see this surface on either side. On either side here, these two surfaces are known as inferolateral surface. The inferolateral surface on either side is related. Here is one muscle not shown here. The name of the muscle is levator ani. It is related with the anterior fiber of levator ani. The fiber which is related with the prostate is also known as levator prostate. Levator prostate. In addition to it, it is related with the recess, ischiorectal fossa, anterior recess of ischiorectal fossa. Anterior recess of ischiorectal fossa. So this is the relation and the surfaces and parts of prostate. What are the parts of the prostate? Apex, base, posterior surface, anterior surface, lateral surface. Okay. Now the lobe of the prostate. Here you can see anatomically there are two lobes. One is median lobe. Anatomically this is the median lobe. Here you can see. And two lateral lobes. These are the lateral lobe. But surgically, surgical lobes are very, very important clinically. So surgically there are 5 lobes. Median lobe, anterior lobe, posterior lobe and 2 lateral lobe. How many? 5. Total 5 lobe. Okay, 5 lobe. Anatomically how many lobe? 3 lobe. Okay, median and 2 lateral. Yes?
No, ma'am, the slide hasn't changed, but ma'am, it changed now. Sorry.
Changed. Okay, okay. So is there any confusion? Surgically how many lobes are there? Tell me, my dear student. Sakshi Jha. Yes, yes. Sakshi Jha, can you tell me surgically how many lobes are there? What are they? Enumerate the surgical lobe of the prostate.
Total 5 surgical lobes. Median,
yes.
Anterior, posterior and 2 lateral.
Anterior, posterior, 2 lateral and 1 in the center, median. Okay. Avantika Joshi, what are the anatomical lobes? How many anatomical lobes are there? Avantika Joshi.
There are 3 lobes.
What are they?
Ma'am, there is
1 median.
Median lobe, 2 lateral lobes.
Okay. Now surgical lobe is very, very important. So we'll go in detail of surgical lobes. First is the anterior lobe. Here you can see this is the anterior lobe, my dear student. Anterior lobe, you can see this is the prostatic urethra. What is this? This is the prostatic urethra. Anterior lobe lies in front of the prostatic urethra. It connects. Here you can see this is the anterior lobe. Anterior lobe connects the 2 lateral lobe. Yes. And this anterior lobe is devoid of glandular tissue. And since it is devoid of glandular tissue and it connects the 2 lateral lobe, it is often called as isthmus. What is this? It is often called as isthmus. Now, my dear student, here you see this is the which lobe? This is the posterior lobe. Posterior lobe lies behind the which duct? Which duct is this? Ejaculatory duct. Yes. And the median lobe. Posterior lobe lies behind the ejaculatory duct and median lobe. Here you can see the posterior lobe. In this picture you can see posterior lobe connect the 2 lateral lobe from behind. Okay. And posterior lobe is the primary site. Is the commonest site for the primary carcinoma of the prostate. So primary carcinoma of the prostate begins in the posterior lobe. Okay. So this is the clinical aspect associated with the posterior lobe. Now the very, very important lobe is median lobe. Which lobe, my dear student? What is this lobe? Median lobe. Median lobe, also known as the middle lobe. What is the shape? You can easily see what is the shape. It is wedge shaped. And this is the base. What is this, my dear student? This is the base. The base will projected towards the forms the uvula vesicae. Base forms the uvula vesicae in the apex of the internal trigone of the urinary bladder. Internal trigone of the urinary bladder. You have studied. This is the internal trigone of the urinary bladder. Okay, these 2 are the opening of the ureter. And in the apex, there is an opening of the internuclear thoracic. Just behind the opening of internuclear thoracic, there is a elevation of the median lobe of the prostate in the male urinary bladder. That elevation is known as uvula vesicae. This uvula vesicae is formed by the median lobe. Okay, I believe you have studied this in the urinary system. And what is the location of the median lobe? See, what is the location? It lies behind the upper part of the urethra. See, it is lying behind the upper part of the urethra. It lies in front of the ejaculatory duct, pair of ejaculatory duct. Yes. And see, the prostatic utricle, this cul-de-sac, this blind pouch is known as prostatic utricle. Prostatic utricle lies behind the median lobe. Okay, median lobe. Okay. And in the old age, this is the very, very important lobe. In the old age, this median lobe enlarges. When it enlarges, that means this uvula vesicae also enlarges, and it obstructs this internal urethral orifice. When it obstructs the internal urethral orifice, which is present in the neck of the urinary bladder, the urine flow will be obstructed. So there will be difficult in urination. And what is the content of this median lobe? It consists of fibromuscular and it contains of abundant amount of glandular tissue. So the median lobe is the commonest site of adenoma, which yield into the formation of benign prostatic hypertrophy. It is the commonest site of the benign prostatic hypertrophy. Okay, so this is very, very important. Then another two lobe on either side. What are these two lobes? Lateral lobe. The lateral lobe you can see in the picture. These are the lateral lobe. They lie on either side of the prostatic urethra. Okay, on the posterior surface. On the posterior surface, the two lateral lobes are separated from each other by posterior median sulcus. The two lateral lobes are connected on each other by which lobe? Posteriorly, posterior lobe, anteriorly. Which lobe is this, my dear student? Anterior lobe. The anterior lobe which connects the two lateral lobes is also often known as isthmus. Is also often known as isthmus. The two lateral lobes also consist of glandular tissue, and in this lobe, the adenoma may arise in the old age in the male. Okay, so this is about lateral lobe. Now comes the zonal anatomy of the prostate. This is very, very important. So here, the glandular tissue of the prostate lies in the three zones. This is the peripheral zone. The outermost zone is known as peripheral zone, which consists of 70% of the glandular tissue. The middle one is known as, this is the central zone, which comprises of 25% of glandular tissue. The innermost one is known as the transitional zone. This is the transitional zone, which comprises of the 5%. The area between, the space between these three zones is occupied by fibromuscular stroma. It is filled up by fibromuscular stroma. Okay. Now let us go to each zone, short description. This is the central zone. The central zone surrounds the ejaculatory duct. What are those blue color duct, my dear student? You know this. What are these blue color duct? Ejaculatory duct. And it lies behind this urethra. The urethra, this urethra here. This is pre-prostatic urethra, before the prostate. So it is known as pre-prostatic urethra. And it conical part, this is the apex of the central zone. And this apex of the central zone opens in seminalis colliculus. You know this. What is this? Seminalis colliculus. Do you remember prostatic urethra? All of you, there is a seminalis colliculus. Okay, seminalis colliculus in prostatic urethra. I think urethra, we have done it in the urinary system in the third semester. So if you are confused after this class, please see that. And if you have any queries, you can ask me in the chat. So the apex, it is conical in shape and it is related with this seminalis colliculus. Seminalis colliculus. This is about central zone. And this is the transitional zone. This transitional zone surrounds the distal part of the pre-prostatic urethra. Okay, here you can see. Okay, and here in this case, there is an opening of the ejaculatory duct in the transitional zone, opening of ejaculatory duct into the prostatic urethra. Now this is the largest part is the, what is this largest part? The largest part is the peripheral zone, which comprises the 75% of the glandular tissue. It is of cup shaped. Which shape is this? Like this, cup shaped. Yes. It encloses the central part and transitional part. It encloses the ejaculatory duct. It includes the pre-prostatic part of the urethra. And my dear student, this peripheral zone is the commonest site for the carcinoma of the prostate. Benign prostatic hypertrophy. In the benign prostatic hypertrophy, what happened? This transitional zone get enlarged and compress this urethra, prostatic part of the urethra. The central zone is rarely involved in any kind of disease. So which zones are mostly, according to zonal, there are 3 zones. Again I repeat, number 1 peripheral zone, number 2 central zone, number 3 transitional zone. Which zone is more prone to carcinoma? Peripheral zone. Which zone is more prone to the benign prostatic hypertrophy? Transitional zone. In the transitional zone, in the adenoma of the transitional zone, there is a compression of the prostatic urethra. The central zone rarely involved in the any sort of disease. According to lobe, there are 2 types of lobe: anatomical lobe and surgical lobe. Surgical lobe are 5 lobe: anterior, posterior, 2 lateral, and median. In the benign prostatic hypertrophy, which lobe is mostly involved? Median lobe. Okay. And the carcinoma of the prostate takes place mostly in the which lobe? Primary carcinoma begins in which lobe? Posterior lobe. So this is what you should. So classification of the prostate is very, very important. Classification of the prostate on the basis of anatomical classification, surgical classification, and zonal classification. Again I repeat, what are they? Anatomical, surgical, and zonal. What are the structures passing through the prostate? The structures passing through the prostate, first and foremost structure, my dear student, what is this? Prostatic urethra. Prostatic urethra travels vertically downward through the gland. It enters into the gland from the junction of anterior 1/3 and posterior 2/3 of base of the prostate. It opens just slightly above the apex through the anterior surface of the prostate. Beside prostatic urethra, what are the other structure opens into the passes through the prostate? Can you see this? This is the ejaculated duct, pair of ejaculated duct. The pair of ejaculated duct traverses the prostatic gland on its posterior lateral aspect. This ejaculated duct also opens into the prostatic urethra. Beside that, what is another structure? Can you see this small cul-de-sac? The small cul-de-sac is known as prostatic utricle. It is a mucous cul-de-sac. It is of 6 mm in length. It extends upward and backward from the prostatic urethra. And it lies behind which lobe? I just stated before. Which lobe? Median lobe. Which lobe? Median lobe. So what are the structures passing through the prostate? Can you enumerate? The structures are prostatic urethra, number 1. Number 2, ejaculated duct. Number 3, prostatic utricle. Prostatic utricle. Okay. Structure of the prostate. What are the structures of the prostate? Prostate comprises of, it is made up of fibrous tissue, 1/4 fibrous tissue, 1/4 muscular tissue, and 1/2 part glandular tissue. What sort of glandular tissue? You can see these are the glandular tissue. Tubuloalveolar gland. How they are arranged? Can you see this picture? They are concentrically arranged. See, these are tubuloalveolar gland. Concentrically arranged. And they are categorized into mucosal group. This is mucosal. Outside submucosal. More peripherally main prostatic or prostatic gland proper. Okay. Okay. And they form, these gland form the main parenchyma of the prostate. In between this gland, there is presence of fibromuscular stroma. And the lumen of the duct of all these gland open into the which urethra? Which urethra is this? Prostatic urethra. Okay. And the lumen of, if we take a cut section of this prostatic gland, in the center, in the lumen of this prostatic gland, there is a concentration, there is a secretion. The secretion is known as, which yield into the formation of colloid mass known as the corpora amylacea. Okay. So, Prasanna, can you describe on the structure of prostate?
Structure of prostate is made up of fibrous tissue, muscular tissue, and glandular tissue.
Okay.
Glandular tissue consists of tubuloalveolar glands, which are arranged in concentric groups.
Yes. What are the three groups?
Mucosal, submucosal, and main prostatic gland.
Where does all these gland opens, terminates, drains?
Urethra.
Which urethra?
Prostatic urethra.
Prostatic urethra. Okay. And in between this gland, what is the structures which lies abundantly in the prostate?
Lumen contains corpora amylacea.
Lumen lie of the gland consists of the corpora amylacea. You are right. I'm asking you, what is the name of the structure which fill up the space between these glands, and they are present abundantly in this prostate?
Parenchyma prostate.
No. Okay. Krishma Poon, can you clarify the confusion of Prasanna?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, the corpora amylacea, which are the small colloid masses or fibromuscular tissue which forms the stroma.
Okay, fibromuscular tissue is the structures which fill the space between this mucous, submucosal, and prostatic gland proper. So, what is the key feature in the exam? If we ask, what is the key feature of the prostate? The parenchyma of the prostate is formed by the glandular tissue. What are the glands? Mucous gland, submucosal gland, and prostatic gland proper. They all are tubuloalveolar gland. In between these glands, what structure lies in the prostate? Fibromuscular tissue. Fibromuscular tissue forms the stroma of the prostate. Clear, Krishna Poon and Prasanna and everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Ujjal Saha, can you describe about surgical lobe of the prostate?
Yes, ma'am. Surgical lobe consists of 5 lobes.
Okay, what are they?
Median, anterior,
yes,
posterior, and 2 laterals.
Yes. Okay. Can you describe anterior?
Ma'am, anterior lobe is situated just anterior to the prostatic urethra.
Okay. Okay, no problem. Chitralal Shrestha, can you describe the surgical lobe of the prostate?
Yes, ma'am. Surgical lobe of prostate consists 5 lobes, that is anterior, posterior, two lateral, and median lobe.
Yes.
And concerning about anterior lobes, it is like behind this pubic symphysis.
Yes.
And in front of prostatic. And concerning about the median lobe, it is just behind the prostatic urethra, and in front of ejaculatory duct, and behind is this prostatic utricle.
Yes.
And median lobe is a common site for this benign hypertrophy of prostate. And concerning about prostate lobe, it is like in the behind the lower part of prostatic urethra, and it is most common site for carcinoma of prostate.
Yes, and it connects the two lateral lobe. Which lobe is also oftenly called isthmus?
This anterior lobe, ma'am.
Okay, and what about lateral lobe? Where are they located?
This on each side of this prostatic urethra.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chitralal.
Yes,
okay, that means okay. Manvi Sharma, can you enumerate the zonal anatomy of the prostate? How many zones are there in the prostate?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Chitralal has described about surgical lobe. Can you say about zonal anatomy? Just enumerate the zones. How many zones are there? And give one applied aspect.
Ma'am, there are 3 zones.
Very good.
Peripheral zone, central zone, and transitional zone.
And what about the percentage of glandular tissue on this zone? Which zone comprises of more glandular tissue?
Peripheral is about 70%, central is 25%, and transition is 5%.
Okay. Which zone is more prone to benign prostatic hypertrophy?
Transitional zone is more
Which
prone
zone
to
is
benign.
more prone to carcinoma? Carcinoma begins in peripheral. Which zone is rarely involved in any disease?
Central zone is rarely involved.
Okay, thank you very much. So I believe you know the, yes, welcome. So I believe all of you know the classification of the prostate, anatomical lobe, surgical lobe, zonal anatomy, structure of prostate. Okay. Anil Tuana, can you say the structures passing through the prostate? What are the structures passing through the prostate?
Ma'am, the structure passing through the prostate are prostatic urethra, ejaculatory duct, and a sac-like structure.
Prostatic utricle. Cul-de-sac means prostatic utricle. I'll again elaborate. Have you seen sac, Anil? Sac, where you put the rice sac?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, in that sac, rice sac, you have only one opening, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, similarly, cul-de-sac means a sac which have only one opening, a single opening. So that is the opening into the urethra, and this prostatic utricle is the remnant of paramesonephric duct. Remnant of paramesonephric duct. This is one of the Viva questions. Okay, Anil? Confident?
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Arun Tharu, can you say about location of the prostate? Where does the prostate lies in your body?
It is anterior to the, first of all, it is just below the urinary and in front, and it is posteriorly to the pubic symphysis, and from posteriorly it is related to the ampulla of the rectum, and on the both side there is presence of levator and eye muscle.
You are absolutely correct, Aaron, but you forgot the one very important point. Where does it lie? In the abdomen or pelvis?
Oh, it is present in the lower pelvis.
Lesser pelvis. True pelvis. Lesser pelvis, not lower. Lesser or true pelvis. Okay, Aaron? Clear, everybody? Yes. Now, supports of the uterus. I'll just enumerate the structures. The uterus is supported in the lesser pelvis by the diaphragm. This diaphragm, here you see, this is the urogenital diaphragm. Which diaphragm is this? Urogenital diaphragm, where the apex of the gland rests. Okay, and this prostatic sheath. Can you see this white one? This is the false capsule. Yes, this is also known as prostatic sheath. This prostatic sheath get continuous with the superior fascia of urogenital diaphragm. So this is how one protection, supports of the prostate. Another is from either side of the prostate, from the lateral surface of the prostate, two pair of the ligament forms by the condensation of pelvic fascia, that is known as puboprostatic ligaments. They extend from prostatic sheath, that is false capsule, to the pubic bones. Okay, pubic bones. Okay, there are two pairs, medial pair and lateral pair. Medial pair lies near the apex of the gland, and lateral pairs lie near the base of the gland. So these are the another ligaments. So what are the supports of the prostate? Number one, urogenital diaphragm. Number two pair of the puboprostatic. Two pair means a pair of medial puboprostatic, a pair of lateral puboprostatic. Okay. Then very important here. What is the name of the fascia I just stated before? Rectovesical fascia. Another very important support is rectovesical fascia of Denon-Wheeler. Okay, and this separates the prostate, posterior surface of the prostate with rectal ampulla. And my dear student, here this origin of rectovesical fascia or the fascia of the Denon-Wheeler, another name is fascia of Denon-Wheeler or rectovesical fascia or fascia of Denon-Wheeler. In fetal life, the rectovesical pouch, this is very shallow here, but in the fetal life it is very deep like this. And what happens during development, the two layer of this rectovesical pouch fuse and forms this fascia of Denon-Wheeler. And what has the clinical anatomy of this is, in the adult life, if there is carcinoma of the prostate, the metastasis, this rectovesical fascia is rarely pierced. It is rarely pierced by the carcinoma of the prostate. So the involvement of the rectum and the anal canal is rarely occurred in the prostatic carcinoma. But if it pierces this rectovesical fascia, it may also encroach the rectal ampulla and the anal canal. But however, it is rarely pierced in the carcinoma of the prostate. So the carcinoma of the prostate only rarely penetrates this rectovesical fascia of Denonviller, and the involvement of the rectum and anal canal is very, very unusual. So this is the clinical anatomy. What is the source of development of fascia of Denonviller? It is formed by the fusion of which pouch? Which pouch? Rectovesical pouch in the fetal life. Clear? So what are the supports of the prostate? Number 1, urogenital diaphragm. Number 2, puboprostatic ligament. Puboprostatic ligament. How many pair? 2 pair. What are they? Medial puboprostatic and lateral puboprostatic. Okay. So venous drainage, and then we'll finish. Now the venous drainage of the, very important here, the venous drainage of the prostate is by the rich venous plexus, which lie between the true capsule and false capsule. You know this. And this prostatic venous plexus receive the deep dorsal vein of the penis. And this prostatic venous plexus get continue with this venous plexus, which drain the urinary bladder, which is also known as vesical venous plexus. Vesical venous plexus. And the mode of the drainage of this prostatic venous plexus is 2 pathway. Either it drain into the internally vein by passing through the posterior ligament of urinary bladder, or into the internal venous plexus or external venous plexus of Batson that lie inside the vertebral canal. Which canal? Vertebral canal. By passing through the anterior sacral foramina of sacrum. So this is this communication. So this is how there is a communication of the prostatic venous plexus with internal vertebral venous plexus. Internal vertebral venous plexus drain the spinal cord and the vertebral column, my dear student. Okay. So what is the clinical anatomy here? See, the prostatic venous plexus terminate into internal iliac vein. Internal iliac vein terminate into IVC. So this is the pathway for traversing of metastasis of the cancer of the prostate into the heart and lung. This is one way pathway. Another pathway, as I already stated, prostatic venous plexus has a connection with vertebral venous plexus. How many vertebral venous plexus? What are they? Internal vertebral venous plexus and external vertebral venous plexus of Batson. They lie inside the vertebral canal. And these venous plexus not only drain the vertebral column, they also drain the spinal cord. And this venous plexus has a communication with the dural venous sinus inside the cranial cavity. So via this channel, this pathway, the metastasis of the cancer of prostate may enter into the vertebral column, enter into the skull. So it may also encroach the lumbar vertebra, even encroach the other vertebra of our body, and even encroach the pelvic bones, even encroach the cranial bones, skull bones. Okay, so this is the importance of the venous drainage of the prostate. This I will ask to one person, then I will conclude today's class. Anil Toana, can you describe about venous drainage of the prostate and its clinical importance? Very, very important. Always asked every time in semester and university.
Ma'am, venous plexus is drained into IBC to
what is the location of prostatic venous plexus, Anil?
Ma'am, it is located between the true capsule and false capsule, ma'am.
Very good. And what is the connection of this venous plexus?
Ma'am, this venous
where does it terminate?
It can terminate to internal iliac vessels to the IBC. So
Yes.
the metastasis is towards the heart and lungs. It also
Yes.
terminates into the vertebral venous plexus of Batson's, which are internal and external. It will connect
Yes.
to the cranial cavity also. So the metastasis
veins.
can be
Enter into the vertebral column and the skull bones. So whenever there is prostatic cancer, when you do the CT scan, you may also see the encroachments of metastatic cells, involvement of the vertebra, as well as even in the severe case, it may also involve the skull bone and pelvis. Clear on you? So this is how the venous drainage of the prostate is very, very, very important. Okay, now I will download. Thank you, Anil. Now I will download the attendance.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Is there any question? So this is our today we did about prostate. Please study, and if there is any question, ask me in the chat. Okay.